From the mid-1950s to about 1995, Plattsburgh, New York had an Air Force base, but it wasn't just any ordinary Air Force base. It was a SAC base, Strategic Air Command. Construction began in the late 50s, and by the early 1960s, these missile silos located around Plattsburgh were operational. They were operational at the time of the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis. Today we are going to visit one of those bases. We've gone to the Champlain Atlas Missile Site before, and today we are going back on this August 19th, 2023, because at that missile silo, amateur radio operators will be contacting Oplin, Texas Atlas F Missile Silo on HF radio. This is the first time the Atlas Missile Silos have had site-to-site radio contact since they were operational back in 1965. So this is a first-time event, and it's happening in Champlain, New York, at the former missile base on the Missile Base Road, and that's where we are on our way to right now. We're at the northern end of the Missile Base Road in Champlain. If you were counting that map we showed, there were, I believe, 12 missile silos around Plattsburgh Air Force Base. It's 9:37 and a crowd is gathering here. They're laying out a plan, I guess, to a shortwave, whatever they're called here. The enthusiasts are gathering from throughout the surrounding area. Hopefully going to find out more about what will be happening here. And those of you who haven't seen our previous shows, that is the area right there where the missile was. That's the silo area. And that's the area where the missile was, and this is the way that the people entered to that cement area there. We're going to wander around, see if we can find a familiar face or two. Hopefully Fitzy, the owner, is here. I would assume he would be. We talked to his neighbor Norm Bono last night, and Norm said he's been coming down here and helping to mow to get the area looking at its best for today's event. Looks like Bob Dwyer over that way.
What's that?
All right. He doesn't have a ham on him, but he tells me he's a ham radio person. What's your name, young fella? You look awfully familiar.
I'm Bob, W2RJD, Bob Dwyer from Shazy, and here to participate in a missile site activation. And we have many hams from the Champlain Valley Amateur Radio Club who will be here participating. And the purpose is to contact stations throughout the United States, and we'll probably make contacts in Canada as well.
But they're going to be trying to contact a base in, was it Texas, or where is it?
Yes, I believe.
Air base?
Yes.
Missile
silo
yeah.
location, that's correct.
Yes.
Yes, that'll be one of the goals.
Maybe a first since 1965, right?
That's right. Absolutely.
And of course, you and I are both old enough to remember the Cuban Missile Crisis, and
yes, indeed.
This was a hot spot back then.
Yes, it was. I recall I was in school at Plattsburgh at the college, and the B-52s were operating 24/7, and kept things pretty interesting back in those years.
Yeah, I was in school at St. Mary's, and you go to school every day knowing that your area has got a big target on it, and it was a little unnerving for a kid back then. And
Sure enough, yeah.
all right, so how far and wide does the Champlain Valley Club range in membership? I
Well,
imagine some people join, then they move to another area and they keep their membership, I imagine.
in some instances, that's true. Most of them are from the county, from Clinton County, but we have others from Essex and Franklin.
And I see
As
Vermont plates here too.
Vermont. We have some people coming from out of the area to participate in this site activation.
All right, so we'll be seeing a lot of this?
Yes, this is an initial antenna setup. This is for HF Morse code operation. And as a matter of fact, the gentleman setting it up is Larry Paola.
Larry Paola.
Yep.
I used to know a fellow named Larry Paola.
Yep. KC2 EQB and or EQA, excuse me, KC2 EQA.
Well, do people get insulted if you get their letters wrong?
Well, it's just like your name. We try to keep it precise. But with the setup that Larry can give you more information. But Larry was just telling me that he made a contact in Croatia using 5 watts on and
just 5 watts
with CW or Morse code as we referred to it. With that antenna.
You know, it has nothing to do with ham radio, but many years ago when my oldest 2 kids were young, we used to have the little speakers in their rooms so we could listen in on them, and sometimes in the morning we'd pick up a Russian news station.
Sure enough.
Yeah, it's just amazing what's flying through the air with our airwaves here. We have no idea what's surrounding us here.
That's right. Well, we're all surrounded by radio signals, and more so today, I think, because of the internet activity and so on. But I remember a friend, Frank K2TTI, mentioned to me that he was broadcasting one time using a significant amount of power, and his neighbor called him and told him that he could hear him broadcasting in his toaster. In his toaster. So you never know, what's
who's listening in on
what's happening in the surrounding ether, as they say.
Okay, so will there be a lot of these little antennae set up in the surrounding area? Is it
People will operate from a portable antenna. The radios on batteries, or some may be operating from their vehicles because they have.
How are you operating?
I'll be operating from my vehicle. I have a mobile radio in my vehicle.
Oh my gosh!
So
that sounds fancy.
It's not that it's sophisticated, really. We can operate on either the VHF, UHF, or high frequency, depending on the radio equipment involved.
So you can go down the road and have a conversation with somebody.
You can actually have a conversation, and there are folks that will pull off to the side and do Morse code communication as well. Often they'll drive to a mountaintop and so on.
So can you do Morse code?
I can do Morse code, yes.
The only person I thought I knew that did Morse code was the late Larry Marnes, but.
Yeah. Well, there's a gentleman up the road, Kurt Fanuff. He was an expert Morse code operator.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, he was. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to try to contact him to see if he's still operating.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get.
That's all right. I'm pointing the camera at you. People want to see you.
Why don't you talk to
all right,
Larry?
I'll talk to Larry here. All right.
Thank you.
Bob doesn't want to talk to me anymore. I get that all the time, So what are you doing, Larry?
Let's turn that off for a second.
Turn it off for a second. All right. Well, Mr. Paola was kind of busy and didn't have time to chat, but we got other folks here that are also busy and working like heck to be set up. We're at 9 minutes before 10, so if they're going to be on the air at 10, they're going to have to keep moving here, and you got to watch where you're stepping here. There's the little wires are very, very, I don't even know if I can pick it up. There we go, right there. Very, very tiny, very slender little wires here. Temperature, as I may have already mentioned, 62 degrees with a slight breeze and overcast, so it's a bit on the chilly side. And lots of folks getting set up. Casey Berto's the one who first alerted me to this. We appreciate that. And then last night
We're in Shazy, and we bumped into Norm Bono, and Norm said, "Hey, what are you doing tomorrow?" And I said, "I'm going to the Missile Base Road." And Norm said, "Oh, I wanted to make sure you knew about it." So we may have found out about it anyway if we didn't get that message, but I'm glad we did, because otherwise we would have probably had other plans already made by the time we talked to Mr. Bono. Folks are still pulling in here, and
Gadway, one of the
hang on
members
here.
of the
You're
club.
Joe Gadway, all right.
Joe Gadway, KD2VRD, we call me on the radio.
And I've heard of KD2. No relation.
You've
to
heard of me?
No relation to R2D2.
No. KD2VRD. I'm one of the members of the club.
Okay. No,
Not one of the important members,
all
but
right. There's Gadways in Essex County. There's Gadways up here in
there's Gadways
Moore's
all
area.
over this place. Yeah.
Where are you from?
I'm from Saranac.
Okay.
Yep.
Saranac Gadway. All
Yep.
right.
Yep.
So you're an enthusiast?
Yes. Yes.
Can I call you an enthusiast?
Yes, absolutely. I'm enthusiastic. I got my first license 2 or 3 years ago, and then my second level a year ago.
Oh.
So
Your enthusiasm grew fast. Then.
one more level to go if I can understand all the stuff I need to understand to pass the test.
So you know Morse code and everything?
No.
Oh,
You know what? In the old days, you had to know Morse code, and so many people did not become
because
amateurs because that's a hard thing to learn, I think.
I think so.
So finally, they took that requirement away.
Okay.
So now lots of people can become radio amateurs without knowing the Morse code.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you need a radio first of all, though. But
Yes.
a license. You got to get a license.
Yep, you got to get a license. People usually start with a handheld radio or a mobile radio in their car on the 2-meter band maybe, which is short range, although we do have repeaters so you can talk to people farther away, and that's a good way to get started. Get your first license, get a 2-meter radio, and then you're on your way.
Oh, okay. All right. So you want to introduce us to some folks here, you said?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to.
Can I introduce
bounce
you to
along.
this guy first?
This guy first. All right.
Because he's the president of our club.
How are you?
How are you doing, Mr.
This is the
President?
guy from the cable.
Hometown Cable.
Are you Calvin?
I'm Calvin.
Nice to meet you, Calvin.
And you are?
I'm Mark Varon.
Okay. I sent you a video we did here
You did.
several years
It was
back.
an interesting video for sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, make yourself at home, Calvin. We're going to be setting up here.
All right. You're supposed to go on the air in 5 minutes here. You better get going.
Yeah.
So let me introduce you to the guy who
Maybe-
started organizing this
All right.
thing.
Maybe that's Texas time, though.
Yeah, you better find that out. This is one of our vice presidents, Matt Prey,
Yeah.
K2AJO, who organized this event and got it going. And now it's snowballing out of control, I understand.
Well, that's why the weather's so cold today. It's snowballing.
For sure.
You're responsible for this weather.
Absolutely. So this is the cable guy who's going to be...
The cable guy.
Thanks for coming today.
That was a show, wasn't it?
Yeah. I'm the cable guy for 40 years, though. So.
So I certainly wanted to introduce you to our president and to the organizer.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I don't want to hold you up, Matt.
Yeah, once
so-
we get set up, then
Yeah.
we have a little bit more time
Yeah,
to
yeah.
do everything.
And if you want, I'll also introduce you to who I would call our guest of honor, a guy that used to work in missile
Oh,
silos.
that guy over there who's
Yeah.
talking over this way, yeah. Yeah,
I
we
think
did a
that's
show.
interesting that a guy came who used to work in the missile silos.
Yeah,
right?
about, I think maybe 8 years ago, we did a show here with some people who worked in the construction and people who worked here with Fitzy here. And, you know,
yeah,
people
nice.
worked
Nice.
down in this silo.
New York has one.
So, yeah, so I have been down
Oh, have you
into
been
the
in
silo,
there?
yeah. Yeah, we've been here for a couple of videos.
Willsboro, 2 in Vermont, Swanton, and
Okay, you're the guest of honor. Did they fly you in on a private jet or what? Apparently not. What's your name?
I was a 2-striper on Crew 40, and my missile site was actually in Lewis, New York.
Okay, that one's all gotten all fancy now, isn't it?
Oh, that one is nice. The guy that used to own it was an architect from Sydney, Australia. He had unconventional concepts come in, pump all the water out, and they ended up buying it from him. They're setting it up for like a National Guard base station for artillery and so on. I mean, it's a nice.
Nice location, yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your name?
Huh?
Your name?
I'm Richard Somerset. I was on crew 40.
Uh-huh. And you're not from the area now? You're still in the area, or where you living now?
Oh, what?
Where are you living now these days?
Essex, Vermont.
Oh, okay. You're not too far away then.
Well, I met a girl, decided to stay east instead of. I grew up in Idaho.
So you were assigned to the Plattsburgh Air Force Base, and
Yes.
this was part of your duty.
Yes.
Now there was room to spend the night here, but most people didn't do that, right? You came in shifts and
Oh, yes, we
you
did.
spent the night. Okay.
We went out. We pulled basically a 24-hour alert shift, and it took about 2 hours to get everything done and out there. And then convert the site over to the new crew. Tell them what to expect. Come back. Get to sleep the afternoon away.
Okay. Were you in the military in '62, or is that before your time?
I got to Plattsburgh the fall of 1962. I went out to Vandenberg for crew training. It was the Cuban Missile Crisis. We ended up coming back very quickly, generating the sites up here, so we were online by November and pulling alert. So 1962 to 1965 when I got out, and September of '65 they closed the missile sites.
Right. It was very short-lived, and
Yeah.
but there are 12 sites around here. I heard you just say
Yep.
from Vermont over as far as Brainerdville to our west, and then
Yeah.
down to the Lewis area and so on, Willsboro and so on.
Yeah. Some people have really converted really well.
Yeah. We've done a tour here several years back with
Yeah.
Fitzy, and it's and we had some people that worked here. Claude Bayshard was here. A guy from West Shazy was named Gahuli was here. Tony Gahuli, and we had some people that worked also did your type of stuff here.
Yeah, I just had to come over to what was going on.
So I was a little nervous, I imagine, in '62 though during that missile crisis. That was
The what?
during that Cuban Missile Crisis in '62. That must have been a nervous time for you guys. Were you
Another
nervous?
time?
Nervous?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The worst case of nerves is when Kennedy was assassinated 1 year later, and our defense status never changed. So I keep saying somebody new, and
Conspiracy theory here.
Huh?
Conspiracy theory here, huh?
yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll let you get back. A lot of people were interested in what you have to say. We appreciate you taking time to talk to us. And
Yeah.
all right.
So I just
If you're watching this on our website, I invite you. There's 2 other videos that we did here. I'm guessing 8 years or so ago, taking a tour of this missile silo, and then come back and look at some photos that we have, like the photo I showed at the beginning of this video. We got maybe 100 or more photos like that we got through eBay many years ago that show the general idea behind all the missile silos, and so we got those videos online. And if you're not familiar with what missile silos, it would certainly help educate you. This, as I said, the cover for the missile silo. Back when we did one of those videos, we talked to a guy named Gerald Stone who grew up in this area, and when he was a youngster, he and another friend were hiding in those woods over there, and got pictures of the missile sticking up out of the ground here. Got different photos of it coming up and sticking up out of the ground here. So they'd have to do that every once in a while just to make sure everything was in working order. And of course, kids were not supposed to be taking pictures of that, but Gerald and his friend were. And fortunately, we were able to access and view those photos from back in the early 1960s. If you look around long enough and know where to look, I found this guy coming out of the underground here. What's your name?
Gerald Fitzpatrick. I've been the owner here since 2006. Every summer I come up from Ohio and work on this bad boy.
Well, you answered to the name Fitzy, as I recall.
Yeah, people call me Fitz or Fitzy.
And 2006, and I seem to recall you bought this on eBay, of all things.
Correct. I bought it from the pods on eBay. And that was a long time ago, but every year I try to work on this place.
Do you ever sit back and say, why in the heck did I do it?
Oh, definitely, this is a white elephant, but I enjoy coming up here, and it's an adventure each time I come up.
So you haven't got to go on the safari. You got your own little adventure land right here. Huh?
Exactly, always something to learn.
Okay. So how'd they get a hold of you? Are you a ham radio enthusiast, or how'd they get a hold of you?
Actually, no, but one of the fellows, Matt, he contacted me. He was a visitor here years ago, and I guess he's part of this ham radio club, and wanted to come up and set up a temporary antenna installation to call one of the other silos in Texas.
Yeah, that's kind of exciting when you think about it, huh? After 60 years.
Oh,
almost.
absolutely, and I'm going to enjoy having these folks around here.
Okay. So you're going to let them go down as far as the first floor down there, but as I recall, there's some water down in your silo.
Yeah, most of these sites up here in New York and Vermont had water issues. Only a few did not. I always will have a water issue, but so be it.
Yeah, if you pump it out, it's just going to refill again, right?
Exactly. There's a swamp and natural spring just about 100 feet from me, so.
Yeah, you look like you're elevated here, but springs don't pay attention to that.
Absolutely.
They shoot their water where they want to shoot their water, whether you're above them or below them. So you're up here for a bit then?
Just for a couple of weeks, then I go back to Ohio. I've got a art business back in Ohio, so
okay.
I trade my time between Columbus, Ohio, and here in Champlain.
All right. And Norm said he helped you mow a little bit.
Norm is something else. I mean, it's if you come up Missile Base Road to the base here, it's one of the most beautiful roads in the county.
Yeah, the guy who built the home at the end of the road is just like Norm. He keeps his area mowed.
Oh, sure. I think there's a bit of competition going on between the two. So.
Yeah, but it's been a wet year here, and your ground surface is dry, but as you said, a lot of moisture down below here. So we won't tie you up. I see other people want to talk to you, and we'll let you enjoy your day, Fitzy, and we'll probably bump into you again, unless there's something else you want to tell us here first.
No, just thanks for your all good work for all these years of keeping us all informed.
Okay.
Cheers.
Thanks, Fitz.
Hello, Fitz.
Okay, Fitzy has decided to give a impromptu little tour here. We've got one of his favorite neighbors here. Tim Parsons has come over to help supervise. All right, thank you. And we're going to go into the total darkness here for a while. So going down the stairs, and as we said, going into total darkness. And once we get through an area of total darkness, we'll in an area. It's been about 8 years since I've made this trip. And most of the area the silo is inaccessible today because of the rain and the normal moisture that is.
So this was the entrapment area. There was a door here.
We'll listen here to Fitzy.
So the personnel would come in, that door would shut, and the door here. Once they were in here, this door would open up.
A lot of moisture on the ground, on the floor.
You can take as many pictures as you want. Everybody in here?
Huh?
Yeah.
Yep.
Tim, you coming up? Yeah. Okay.
Tim, huh?
Sir, with your guide dog, just hold him here now. Okay. Can you come on in here?
Oh, where's my flash? I'm sorry, turn on my flash.
All right, so we're gonna step up, let the dog go. Step up right here, folks. One step.
What's your step?
Whoop.
What's your step?
I'm trying to take it back up a little bit.
Stay right there.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Timmy? This fellow with the dog, you take him last, okay? All right, come on in.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
Do not use this rail.
Don't, it's not a guardrail that's gonna save you if you lean against it.
Use this for support, this wall.
And we continue to go down. But the rail is not
Watch your foot.
gonna prevent you from falling. So
It's okay.
we'll do something we don't normally do, lean to the left here. All right. And here we go. Into a work area. And this is the escape pod. I can show you that when we get up above ground again. For emergency escape only releases 4 tons of sand when opened. So you don't want to open that. And a lot of the things you're seeing up there are accessed above ground too. And of course you can't be looking up above because there's places below your feet that can trip you up here. So very nice of Fitzy to allow this group in here. As we said, he's got it well lit at the moment. And the area with the red roped off area would lead toward the actual silo, and because of the water, they're not allowing people to head down that way. But we did do it a few years ago when we were here.
LCC, Launch Control Center, level 1. There's level 2 right below us. This was primarily for living. So as you walked in, there was a janitor's closet here. Calvin is the bathroom. A couple of urinals, a couple of stalls. You come back out. This was the kitchen. And here's the kitchen. Over here on this side was HVAC area. This was open. I don't know if you guys saw a tank outside. There's a steel tank that used to be here. And it's part of the system that would raise level 1 and level 2. It was actually suspended on pneumatic rams. You see these shackles? They're hung up on the roof and also down on the ceiling and on the deck here. I've started putting these chain falls. I'm going to put 4 and I'm going to try to raise this. And it's a bit of a pipe dream. But so this whole structure would actually float. And it was part of the system and it would act as a buffer. It was a plastic one. Down below was the communication and the rest of the whole operation.
So still more people coming in with floodlights. So we are suspended here, and not sure what our weight limit is. If we suddenly start dropping, we'll get it on camera.
Okay, so level 2 is fine.
Yeah, level 2.
So this,
Come on in, guys.
all the way around the edge here, as you can see, it's not tight to the wall.
Come down
So this
halfway in the silo.
could be moved up and down if
Come on in,
necessary.
guys.
So more and more folks are coming in.
Good morning. Good morning.
Watch your step.
So I'm going to kind of
A
repeat.
lot of, as I said, a lot of things to step and trip on here, so you got to be paying attention.
He's going to speak.
Thanks for coming, everybody. So this is level 1 of the LCC, Launch Control Center. Level 2 is below. It's flooded right now. This whole structure at one time actually floated. You can see the shackles up on the ceiling and on the floor. There was a system to suspend this whole structure. One of the things that I'm working on is I'm going to try to lift this whole structure. And reason being is there's a crawl space about 3 feet under level 2. I want to be able to get down there and clean up with about 5 feet. So we'll see what happens. Janitor's closet, bathroom, fellow in the blue hat over there, that's where the bathroom is. These 3 good-looking guys right here, that's the kitchen. HVAC was right here. And there's a metal tank outside that was positioned here that I think powered the pneumatic system.
What's the big cable on
The chain or that big cable hanging?
Yeah.
I think it's, could have, I don't know. It's part of could be communication antenna.
Oh, really? Can I ask you? You talked about suspension.
Say again?
You talked about the suspension
Yeah.
tank? Like out in Colorado and Colorado Springs, they got NORAD, and you know that whole mountain, it's on springs.
Sure.
Protected like from the bond and stuff, and it's still operating and everything. And are you talking about anything like that? I mean, you know, it's super heavy duty. It's a big place.
For the LCC, it was a pneumatic system with rams that hung from these.
Oh.
Did this run on like the city electricity, or did they have generators and run from their own
I
generators?
think both.
Both.
There were 2 generators that were in the silo, so they were independent from the grid.
And how about heating?
They got
I'm sorry.
Heating for climate.
HVAC system here.
That's what it is.
Can't hear.
HVAC system here.
Okay, okay.
One interesting thing is that, sorry. Sorry. This is the escape tube. And at one time it was filled with silica sand. So if you notice over here, there's a sign and a handle. If the crew had to escape, they'd pull that handle. There's a cable system, and fella in the gold, right behind him is an escape hatch, which was turned over. That trap door would open up by the use of this cable, and the sand would dump out. Sand was used as a buffer if there was an explosion up on top. The thing about it is that the silica sand, from what I understand, absorbed moisture, so it was almost solid. So the system really didn't work. When I bought this place in 2006, there were a group of mailmen from the area, and I talked to one, and as one of the mail persons, when he was 17, he used to sneak in to the site, and he and his buddies started scooping out the sand from here, and they got in here. And they put the sand, and there's a communications bunker outside with a manhole. They put the sand in there so nobody knew that they were taking the sand.
That's a lot of sand though, let's see. Oh yeah, this is it, man, like 10 feet, 12 feet.
So what are we doing?
Yes.
And I want the deal rate.
That was the cap, the cover.
Oh.
What are your plans for?
Most folks that buy these, they want to do an underground home or a kind of doomsday. This place has so much humidity, it's damp, there's water issues. I don't want to live down here. I was telling some of the guys upstairs, it's like having a beat-up old battleship underground. It's rusting away. I just want to stabilize the place. Maybe a coat of paint, take care of the water issues, at least down below the
And again, this is the area that's flooded down through here, so no access to the actual silo. Before we forget, there's that escape hatch and all this other stuff that's we're right below us is where we were. What's your name, young man?
My name is Alan Reed, Kilo Delta 2 Whiskey Echo. I live on Covey Hill, just across the border.
Okay, I call that Covey Hill. Now, that doesn't insult you, does it?
No, that's Covey Hill, that's it.
And I've been there several times, taking a tour of Magnetic Hill, and that's an interesting little strip there. You just go through the station up in the Cannons Corners Road there and go up, get to the Four Corners up north of the border, take a left about a mile, and you'll come to this Magnetic Hill.
Yeah, I did that hill when I was a kid, and it was a lot of fun.
Now, you're telling me you live near the Gulf, which is in that area there.
Yes, sir.
And do you frequent that once in a while?
Yeah, what we like to do, Calvin, we like to go into the Gulf with snowshoe, because the Gulf, it's a rock wall and it's difficult to go down. So what we do is, whenever there's a lot of snow, we use like the snow as stairs with our snowshoe, and we go at the very bottom of the canyon, and it's sorts of a lake. And that lake is 200 feet deep. It's a lot of fun, and it's a beauty to see as well. And there's two sides. There's the U.S. side to the Gulf and the Canadian side.
Yes, it's just, you can see the marker up there. If you're on the U.S. side, you can see at the top of the hill there's that boundary line marker, and it's the only thing that scared me. I haven't been there in 30 years since we did the program there with Leonard Patry, Bob Ben, and I, and is the amount of stuff we saw that had fallen off. So if you're stepping on an area that looks safe, you don't know what's beneath you, and
you have to be very careful.
Snowshoeing through there is not something I think I would want to do. So you're a member of this club?
I'm a member of the Champlain Valley Amateur Radio Club, bunch of great people. I'm also a member of the Covey Hill Amateur Radio Club on the Canadian side, and I host most of the repeaters and the infrastructures for the club.
Okay, so you're kind of up in the top of the hill. You get better reception up there?
Great reception. That's why I live there.
You move there just for their ham radio operating.
Kind of, because it's on the countryside as well.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to tell us here? It's an interesting little tour here.
Well, it's a privilege to see that site this morning, that silo base. It's truly amazing. Imagining that it was live 30 years ago or so.
Well,
very impressive.
We're closer to 60 years now.
60 years? Oh, sorry.
It closed in 65.
Oh my God.
So yeah, it's been a few decades.
Very impressive.
But 30 years ago, it was 30 years ago. Okay. All right, we are back up here, and
almost 15 years ago now, there was not
was this Texas?
This is his name is Jeff. He's an Atlas Missile expert. We just invited him to be a part of today because he's toured every Atlas missile site in the country, and so figured he'd be a good resource to have to answer anybody's questions. We're getting ready to make contact with the silo. I'm just kind of getting everybody involved, and we'll go from there.
Okay. All right. So this is the expert here, and they're gonna
next time we do this,
I'll do that. There's a piece still on that disco in your town. There's a piece on that.
That's not
the
very
keyword
far.
to launch on the web?
I can't remember how many feet that was. I like your blue shirt.
So it's about 6 or 7 minutes before 11, and we're making contact with Texas. Have to wait for them to wake up. Obviously, you know
We haven't yet, but
they're
I wanted
behind
to
us.
come over so that we could coordinate frequencies.
A couple hours behind us in time.
Okay, sorry, Kevin. It's and then
Okay, we're gonna
coordinate our frequencies, and then we'll switch to the HF radios, and I'll just leave you right here, and then we'll pass it around a little bit too. Go from there.
All right, just a moment.
So, this is W2UXC in Champlain, New York. Atlas F Missile Silo, site number 1, calling KB5RG. KB5RG, this is W2UXC. Do you copy?
This is KB5RG from the Oplin missile site, Site 5 in the Dias district in Texas.
Roger, good morning, and thank you for doing this today. We have at least 20 people here, and first thing we're going to do is we're going to put Dick here. Dick is the vet that worked on the silos. We're going to let him communicate a little bit with you first, if that's okay.
That sounds good. We have 2 operators here, and we are awaiting a 3rd one. So that will give you an idea of our audience. We also have the site owner with us. So if anyone would like to speak with him, we can probably arrange that.
Roger that. We also have Jeff Stevens here on FaceTime too. So Jeff is being a part of this whole adventure today too. So this is W2UXC, and stand by, and we'll put Dick here on the line. So if you want to, just a button right here. All you gotta do is just push it down, wait a couple of seconds, and talk, and then when you're done, let it go.
Okay. First time in 1965. But,
Hi, I'm Dick Somerset. I was first stationed in Dias, and I would like to find out where the site is you're transmitting from.
Hello, Dick. Good to meet you. My name is Robert, and we are operating from the Oplin site, which was Site 5 in the Dias district.
Question, is that the one where they put the missile elevator in one piece?
That is a good question. The owner does not know the answer to that. We do know that this was the first site to be activated in the district.
Well, I was first stationed there, and we went out and watched construction. I know it was south of the base, but I don't remember the name of the town.
South of Dias was Winters, and then not too far away is Shep, so those may be possibilities.
Well, the original question on putting the missile elevator in place, they built it above ground and had a huge crane moved in. The individual tracks were tracked in by a different truck for both of them, and they lifted the whole unit up and put it on the cables. And I was just curious if it was the same one or one of the others.
We have some pictures, but we're not sure what site they were from. We do have quite a number of pictures from this site, but again, there are a lot of holes in our knowledge, so that's why we're so happy to be able to speak with you today.
Well, it's good to be in touch. I was there in 1961 and 1962.
Were you in the Dias region during October of 1962?
What was that?
Were you in that region in October 1962?
No, I had to go back to school, and I think it was April of 1962, and ended up here in Plattsburgh.
Open spot, profile 1 ready.
What was that?
That was just our radio connection.
All right, very good. Did you have an opportunity to interact with any of the radio systems in the launch console, launch control center?
Going back on.
Did you use the radio at all in the launch control center?
The radio, as far as I know, was only for backup. Everything was by telephone landline.
That's good to know. Do you know if they operated any Morse code or CW on the radio systems? I know most of it. I know it was FSB, but we're still trying to determine if there was any CW activity between the sites.
Was there any Morse code at all used?
Any what?
Morse code?
No.
Maybe.
We had our own code.
You had your own code.
That's great information because I just could not find that in the literature. We know a lot about the antennas, but we just are having a hard time finding any information about the radios. We know they're using SSB technology, and we hope to be able to test that shortly to recreate the use of those radio waves on a later contact. But it's good to hear confirmation about CW. What was your role? What function did you perform when you were at the sites?
What did you do there at the silo?
I was on launch crew.
So you primarily monitored the telephone systems for messaging. Did they have the radio on where you could hear it?
Did they have a radio on?
Did they have the radio on all the time where you could hear it?
The single sideband radio behind the launch center, or launch was only there for emergency backup. We did dial in WBBC to listen to music sometime, but we never used the radio.
That's good.
Giving away the secrets here.
Well, we know what kind of antenna that was, so I bet you got great reception.
Probably got great. If you want to wrap things up, and then we'll keep going, and if you'd like.
Okay, nice talking to you. I'll put you on someone else.
All right, Mr. Somerset, thank you so much for joining our event today. It was a real honor to be able to speak with you, and we just appreciate the work you did and the history surrounding those events. Thank you so much for being here. KB5RG.
Did you catch that? They were saying thank you for your service and thanks for activating.
Thank you.
All right, it's a little long for people who aren't overly interested in what's going on here today, but it's historic, and we think it's important. And
we can do that. We've been monitoring the 14325 zone, and
one of the things we have noticed.
Activities scattered around. Have you identified an open frequency?
We are on 14315. How's that sound for you down there?
As we're saying, one thing we noticed a week ago, we were at the quilt show in Plattsburgh, and it was predominantly ladies there. And today it's this nice little intimate gathering, and we see one lady here. So it's just a different interest for different folks. Obviously, the ham radio interest is mainly with men.
I'm on 14315 now. The audio I hear is pretty faint and pretty far off frequency, so I think it would be worthwhile to try.
Okay, let's do that. And we're going to leave our D-Star radio on too so we can communicate further. And I'm going to put a social media blast out and try to get a bunch of people listening at least for the first little bit. And I think our plan was to let the hams here contact you guys, and then we'll go do our separate thing. Is that okay with you?
Atlas Missile on launch with
That sounds very good. I am hearing several QSOs and everyone.
during launch countdown. It took
Well,
us
that's
9 to
true,
12
but
minutes
we'll give it a try.
gallons of liquid
Okay,
oxygen.
I'm going to turn you over to KD2RJP. He's our club president, and you guys can coordinate a frequency that works best. And
24,000 gallons.
And how many minutes?
And 9 to 12 minutes.
So big hose.
It's KB5RG.
14 or 15 inch stainless steel. Okay, the fellow who messaged me and told me that this was a must-see event here was this fellow here, Casey Berto. And anybody in Florida you'd like to say hello to?
Well, yes, say hello to my parents, Robert and Gary Berto.
Former Northern Tier people.
Yes, this was a activation from our CVRC Ham Radio Club in Plattsburgh, and our second vice president got this together, and it really come together with other people out of Texas, and we're making contact to the station in Texas today. So it's a activation of a missile-based site in Champlain to a Atlas site in Texas.
Now, I suppose if you're 15 years old and you pick up your little cell phone, you can call anywhere in the world. You say, "What's the big deal?" But to some of us, this is exciting news, isn't it?
Yes, it's exciting. Like they said, from like 1965, since they made first contacts. So this is an event just to get people out, get things going, and knowledge of what amateur radio does, and what it can do, and any kind of emergency and whatnot.
So it's a way to keep in touch, and you can. Now, if you're on a radio with somebody in Texas, is that person able to multitask, or is it just exclusively one? He can't be talking to somebody in Florida at the same time then.
If you're on the same frequency and you contact, you can have a different QSOs with different people and on the same frequency. So as long as you're on the same frequency, you can have multiple people listening and talking at the same time, and usually do like a round table, and people have their conversation in a round table group.
Now, obviously, there's a whole lot of conversations going on at any particular time around the world. So how many frequencies are there that you're not overlapping each other?
There's different bands, and once you test general licensing, you get on to HF frequencies, which is different bands, and extra class license. It gets you on more frequencies that you can use throughout the bands. And right now, I've made contact to a person in Ukraine a few weeks ago, and I also made contact to somebody in Costa Rica. So it's pretty interesting, radio to radio, no internet, no cell phones, but actually to make contact that far away in that distance is pretty amazing stuff.
So it's just kind of shout out to see if somebody answers, because you don't have any particular. So you might be on a particular frequency waiting for somebody to contact you out of the blue, right?
Yes, there is people out there that do DXing, which DXing is across from the United States to other countries, and they'll call out for DX stations, and they'll just keep calling out their signs. So you make the contact to them, and if they hear you, they'll call your call sign, and then you can make your contact with each other through your call signs, which is regulated through the FCC. So you are tracked on what you're doing.
Okay, so is there a way to verify that you are talking to somebody in Ukraine and not somebody in Churubusco?
Yes, you can. There's a downloaded app and there's a website. It's QRZ, and once you have your call sign through FCC, you log on to QRZ, and it'll have your address, it'll have your place, and a map. You can click on the map, and it'll pinpoint exactly where you're at in your home, QTH, as we call it in the radio. And you can click right on it, and you can see their house, their road. So yes, it's definitely tracked, like I said, through FCC. So it's really controlled.
As I said on camera a few minutes ago, a week ago, I was at a quilt show in Plattsburgh, and it was almost exclusively women today there's only one lady here, so this is seems to be a man's hobby.
Well, I'll tell you, there is not just for men. There is women that are into this too, and there's a lot of Facebook pages of amateur radio, and then people do parks on the air, which they go to different parks and they activate through a radio and stuff. And there's a lot of women that do it also.
Okay, so if people are interested in finding out more, where would you send them?
You can get on our website, CVRC Radio Club, Champlain Valley Amateur Radio Club, and there's information on there. There's a lot of YouTube videos about amateur radio and ham radio and what it's about, and getting your license and testing, studying for tests, and there's a lot of information out there.
Okay, you said CVRC, then you said Champlain Valley Amateur Radio, so there's no CVARC, it's CVRC, no A.
No, CVARC.
Oh, A, okay. Yes. Okay. You wanted to see if I was paying
attention.
Yeah,
well.
Okay, CVARC, and you'll get in touch with folks here, and you have club members from throughout the Northeast, including Canada and Vermont.
Yes, there's a lot of different clubs throughout Northeast Vermont. I'm sure a lot of people don't know, but there's almost 300 active hams in Clinton County. So that seems like quite a number of 289 hams in Clinton County. So.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Casey, and thank you for contacting me, because it was very interesting to have seen this, and it's once in a lifetime thing where it's 58 years ago, I guess, since they've been able to do this. So I think it's great.
Well, thank you for coming, Calvin, and hopefully we can make this kind of an annual event. It seems like with the crowd that we have here today, I mean, it seems like we could actually do this more often.
I think so. Maybe be able to sell a hot dog and
yes,
get a food truck here.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Casey. We were hoping to say so long to Fitzy. Oh, there he is. He's very busy. I thought he'd disappear, but there he is. He's in the middle of entertaining a group over there. But we appreciate, I'm sure all the ham radio folks here appreciate Fitzy opening up his area here for this unique event. Even if they have it in future years, there's only one first, and this was a first since 58 years ago, 1965, when those two locations here and in Texas might have had reason to contact each other. So here's again where the silo is. This here. I'm sure if you went to Google Earth, you could probably see the outline of it here. And Fitzy's done a lot of work here, and it may seem like he has to start all over quite often, but he comes here enthusiastically every summer, and he has good neighbors with Tim Parsons and Norm Bono, and I'm sure that helps him to know his place is secure and being kept up when he's not around. So again, we appreciate Casey Berto for contacting us, and we invite you to look at some of the other videos we've done. We did 2 shows here. I'm guessing probably 2015 was the year. That's my best guess, with a tour of the actual silo when it was a little more accessible. We had less water in it at that time, and also we did a video with a whole lot of photos with some of the people who worked here at that time, and I also got to see the photos at the beginning of that video with Gerald Stone showing us the actual missile coming out of this location right here 60 years ago. So thanks for watching Hometown Cable, viewer-supported local television TV we think is worthy of your support. You may not find every programming interesting, but we try to cover as wide a spectrum as we can about what's happening in and around the North Country. Thank you for watching. However, before our final goodbye, we want to take one last look at those 12 missile silos. We'll go about them, I guess, numerically. The first one was Champlain, then Alberg, Vermont, Swanton, Vermont. We'll look for number 4. Okay, that was way down in Willsboro. Then Lewis, up to Sable Forks, Riverview, Redford, Dannemora, Reynordsville, Ellenburg Depot, and Moores. So that's apparently they numbered them in a circle, with Champlain being the northernmost, and they went clockwise. And so those were the 12 SAC missile bases located around Plattsburgh Air Force Base in the 1960s, first half of 1960s.